So I just listened to the UFO hearing that was the congressional hearing today. Some big names as far as key witnesses and very high level government officials, military officials, intelligence, people that work for defense contractors. I mean, this was probably the best disclosure conference I've heard yet. And so I've got notes. I want to share them with you. The evidence of UFOs and UAPs, not only coming from space, but under the ocean, as far as encounters anyway, it's overwhelming. It's almost like countless for years, decades. Actually, we could go back even further than that, but let's just look at the most recent info over the past 70 plus years. Buckle up, Buttercup. You're watching ESN, IC News. So I'm just going to go over my notes real quick, and then we'll have a more fluid conversation here. Hundreds of UAPs that still can't be explained reported by Aero alone. Commercial pilots, military pilots, civilian pilots, Navy commanders, members of intelligence communities, Ryan Graves, a military pilot. Now, one of the questions that was being asked, or one of the concerns, was a massive drone swarm over Langley. Now, these drones were over 20 feet long, traveling at over 100 miles an hour at 3,000 feet. Think about that for a minute. Over Langley, where they have B-52 bombers, and strategic military, strategic nuclear buildup. 20-foot drones flying over for days. Swarms of drones, or these unexplainable craft, whatever they are. And there's some possibilities about what some of these UAPs could actually be, from a new type of life or non-life, natural phenomena that we can't explain, maybe something like plasma lightning, stuff like that. But Mr. Gallaudet in 2015, now he's running the Meteorology and Oceanography Command. He gets an email about a swarm of UAPs that they don't know what they are, and they're asking, what are these things? Goes out to multiple personnel, and then the email disappears. And he comes to the conclusion that UAPs are in a classified special access program that an intelligence agency has compartmentalized, so it's not available to senior officials and members of Congress. And according to whistleblowers, there's still satellite imagery of UFOs from a few years ago that hasn't been disclosed to Congress. Disinformation campaigns to discredit whistleblowers is ongoing. Overclassifications around the UAP phenomena. There's even science agency leaders that are saying, we know UAPs are interacting with humanity, including USOs under the ocean. Luis Elizondo comes on, and this guy is a remarkable human being. This guy has a resume and a portfolio that's second to none. I watch his body language. I listen to what he has to say about disclosure. And even though he was a part of an intelligence agency and may still be, he seems pretty legit to me. Mr. Schellenberger talks about how these UAPs could possibly represent a new form of life or non-life. Like I said, possible natural phenomena we don't understand, possibly foreign weapon systems or surveillance systems. Then a new UAP whistleblower comes out and says there's thermal, there's film, there's photography evidence of UFOs and UAPs, and that there's a special task force that gathers intel of these UAPs, etc. Spears, orbs, discs, an encounter of orbs surrounding an F-22 and causing it to land and leave its patrol area. A red sphere that rapidly dropped very close to an aircraft carrier. A UAP orb 20 miles out of Kuwait that shot out of the water, and then it was accompanied by another UAP orb. Then they flew off at high speeds. There's a gentleman by the name of John Greenwald that has a 3 million page bank of FOIA requests, Freedom of Information Act. And he claims the more and more research he does, the more and more he is denied when it comes to certain UFO and UAP events with the Freedom of Information records. Now, I don't know if I heard this right, but according to one of the whistleblowers or one of the speakers at this event, certain UAP records are linked to law enforcement so that they can keep it an ongoing case and they don't have to release it to the public or to Congress. Now, don't quote me on that. Let's go back and we'll watch the video here, but I want to get this out to you as quick as possible. Then, certain agencies admit there's UAP footage that exists, but they won't release it because of sensitive info that makes them exempt from disclosure, like national security reasons. Mr. Gold comes out. He's a chief growth officer with Redwire. He worked at NASA. He states that his information isn't connected to those, so it's separate information that he's sharing at this congressional hearing. He says he's speaking out for science, not NASA or Redwire. But people that work at NASA were mocked and threatened that wanted to engage in the study of UAPs. And he thinks that NASA should get more involved because it is a clearinghouse of information and records that people could go back and look into, combined with the FAA. If there is access to certain records and data, we could potentially find more information about these UAPs. I'm going to go ahead and read this to you. The All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, or AARO, revealed hundreds of UAP sightings remain unexplained. These aren't just distant specks in the sky, they're reports from commercial pilots, military officials, even commanders. A swarm of 20-foot-long objects flying at over 100 miles an hour at an altitude of 3,000 feet. Then there's satellite imagery, images capturing disc-shaped UAPs from as recently as 2017, according to whistleblower Lou Elizondo. These advanced technologies are unlike anything our government or any other government has developed. It gets deeper. It's a mysterious program known as the Immaculate Constellation mission. Or I should say, in this conference, one of the speakers talks about the Immaculate Constellation mission. It's an unacknowledged special access program created specifically to document UAPs. Multiple sources confirm that the U.S. military and intelligence agencies are sitting on mountains of evidence, photos, high-resolution images, even video footage shot from helicopters. Some of it includes orbs, spheres, discs, rods surrounding. One in particular is when an F-22 jet was surrounded by orbs and it had to leave its location and land. Testimonies of mid-air UAP encounters, like the Go Fast video. Now imagine weekly encounters with swarms of unknown craft around military assets like the USS Theodore Roosevelt, and yet a concerning pattern emerged. Many of these incidents are overclassified, hidden within compartmentalized programs that Congress, senior officials, and the American public has no access to. They're totally left in the dark. UAPs aren't just in the skies. We're hearing In this hearing, they highlighted USOs, unidentifiable submersible objects, moving under our oceans, interacting with humanity in ways that defy all current understanding of marine and aerial technologies. Michael Schellenberger took it even further, speculating that UAPs could represent an entirely new form of life, or perhaps a life-like natural phenomenon beyond our comprehension. Also, speaking of classified thermal and photographic evidence that is yet to be disclosed to the public. Now, one big revelation came from NASA's Chief Growth Officer, Mr. Gold, who argued for full scientific investigation into UAPs. Surprisingly, NASA faced internal backlash and even ridicule over its interest in the phenomenon. According to Gold, if we want answers, NASA and other scientific agencies must be empowered to fully explore and share the data they already possess. Another startling encounter was reported involving a red sphere that rapidly descended around an aircraft carrier. Witnesses also recounted seeing a UAP emerging from the waters near Kuwait, only to be joined by another. They were both orbs, and then speeding off into the sky at extreme speeds. So what are these mysterious objects? What is this phenomena that defies our understanding of physics and technology? Why is so much information classified? Now, if you ask me, this hearing's left us with more questions than answers. One thing is clear: the U.S. government is actively documenting, analyzing, and possibly reverse engineering technologies that we don't fully understand. What do you think? Could we be on the edge of a breakthrough in understanding extraterrestrial life? The one thing I find the most fascinating is the 20-foot drones flying over Langley for weeks. What do they look like? Do they look like they're made by people? Do they look so advanced? Do they look like alien technology stuff? I mean, they're not telling us what they look like. They're just saying they're over 20 feet long and they're going at about 1,000 miles an hour. Wow. This is incredible. Another thing discussed in this conference that was extremely interesting was how allegedly government officials have been injured by UAPs. There's been more than one account. So there's allegedly a multitude of accounts where people have been injured that work for the government or certain agencies related to UAPs. I wonder what workers' comp is with that. Hello. We're getting closer, folks. 2030 is showing up awfully fast. But I'm not going to hold my breath, because every time I think they're going to disclose, and they pick the best times. Look over here, not over there. Hey, we're over here, man. We're aliens. Let's talk about aliens. Don't you be talking about that other stuff now. We're talking about it. Anyway, I don't know. And I'm not taking away from this, because I am super looking forward to the future of ET disclosure and what is being shared here. Now, in this image, you can see Mr. Schellenberger is showing off a Freedom of Information Act, or this actually might have been something given to Congress, but it's basically a report that's been almost completely blacked out. Oh yeah, here's the information. Black box. The cube. Hit the bell. Check back daily for new content. Thank you for watching IC News. ESN, your source for everything news, views, and reviews you can use if you choose to accept it.